Ooh, ooh. What was that?
Whiskey.
Oh yeah, chase it down.
Oh, my throat's burning. Welcome back to another episode of the Fresh Record Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Wiley Todd, and of course, I am joined by Mr. Bennycumella. How you doing, Benny?
I'm doing good. Billie Eilish out right now, but
Out?
out.
I could keep on running it up for me personally. I am loving it. And that brings us for today's topic, everybody. A couple of weeks ago, we did a whole deep dive of Taylor Swift's discography, which literally messed up both of our whole Spotify statistics to a point where we were not extra listening to her. We were just listening every album, and it got to a point where it was so much, it's like topped our charts. Which was a big thing that we did. We probably won't have to do that with another artist that has that big of a discography and so many songs and different versions. So that's like once in a lifetime type of thing we did there. So our next person we're doing is someone I have been a very big fan of for a little bit and has been a person of conversation on this channel quite a bit. Quite a bit through like many different things of rants, even with back to our Emmy episode. Sorry, not Emmy. Why do I mess this up every time? I can't ever get it right. Grammy.
Grammy.
Yes. And Oscar winner Billie Eilish. So we're covering because her new album called Hit Me Hard and Soft came out 2 days ago. No, a day ago. To me, it feels like 2 days ago because I saw it at a movie theater. I went to go here because Billie Eilish put out this whole new marketing type of thing that's new. I'm sure through Interscope they decided they wanted to do this, basically linking with Apple Music to create this experience that will be the people where they can buy a ticket, $5. Some of it goes to charity, and basically allowed fans to buy a ticket and go at 3:00 and listen to the full album for the first time before it released at midnight on that Thursday. So of course I went. So I think this would be a good way to start this discussion is to talk about that experience. And before we do that, I'm going to throw up some clips that I got from the experience so you guys can just kind of see what it's like. So here you go.
I'm so excited and nervous, and I really hope you enjoy it. So here is Hit Me Hard and Soft.
So that was kind of the experience, what it was getting, but let me kind of set the scene to how it was. So usually with movie events, as a movie guy myself that goes to early Thursday screenings, right, Benny? Usually when you go, you get like a poster to these special events or something like that. They give out something. So I was kind of expecting something like that. We did not get anything like that. It was no poster or anything. It was like put in a normal theater and basically just on the sign said basically, oh, this is a Billie Eilish special album listening party. So I walk in and it's a dark screen like before the movie start, and like the previews come up of like, oh, this is Noovie, you know, where they show like behind the scenes interviews, things like that. They play this at every movie you go to, period. So like mid-sentence in one of the segments, it cuts to black and just starts blasting Billie Eilish music in the theater. Just like from her old music. It just started freaking booming in there. And talk about a cool experience, just being in a movie theater with those great sound systems and hearing music just going. It was awesome. So like, of course, fans were walking in and they were like dancing and getting excited. It made me happy because I'm a fan of Billie Eilish, but like this is their life. You know, like this is their Taylor Swift. So they're losing it. They're excited. They're all dressed up. They have their Billie shirts on. So when it hits 3:00, when it's supposed to start, it starts with a Billie Eilish talking to like the fans and it's saying, oh, thank you for being the first people to check out the album. And again, no visuals, just a black screen and just hearing it. So then it starts with the first song, goes to the second, still a black screen. Then randomly it pops up on screen and it's literally like the best way to describe it is, you know how when you're listening to songs on Spotify and they have like that background image thing playing? I don't know. It's not coming up on my freaking phone right now. But basically, picture that. And the album cover of Billie, of course, is the one with the door, then her floating. So in the middle between those two, they just had the lyrics of the songs playing. And that was the only thing that showed the entire time. So throughout the whole album, you just got the lyrics and then playing the music. And that was the only visuals. So when the album ends, it cuts to a segment with Apple Music with a preview for the interview that's supposed to come out. Still, as the recording this has not dropped yet. Maybe when you're watching it has dropped yet. But just started like, kind of talked about the behind the scenes of the album, then cuts to black, gives you like a QR code to get 3 months of Apple Music off. And that was the experience. That was all it was. So I would love to see this with more artists. Like, talk about a successful, if Taylor Swift did this shit. Are you kidding me? Like, yeah. It wasn't sold out, by the way. It was not sold out, the event. But I know you had some questions, Benny. What are your questions about it?
I mean, you kind of just explained it all.
Okay.
But I'm curious, you said it wasn't sold out. And
Yeah.
in the video that you posted on Instagram, it looked
Yeah.
like you were the only person in the theater.
Yeah.
Did more people turn up, or was it just you?
Let me put it this way. I was the only person that was there by themselves. Everyone went with like, there was either parents with their daughters or groups of friends, and it was spread out. Like, it was like very spread out. Like in front of me, I was like, there's like 2 or 3 rows in front of me, and in total of just those people, there were probably like 3 groups of people, small groups of people. So not many. It was not. Plus, it was marketed so last minute. Like, this thing was announced like a week before, and then it was like announced, and that was it. There was no extra thing. So I think that was the reason. Plus, the timing of it, 3 p.m. is usually when school kids get out of school, and it's not summer yet. So like, I'm sure it would have been bigger if the time was different and announced more. So yeah, it was not sold out. Not many people were there. I loved it though. Great experience. Like coming out of the album after listening it from that time, it felt cinematic. And you could be like, Wiley, it's because you saw it in the theater, which could be true if you say it like that. But like, the album really feels cinematic in its production. So like, yeah. Anyways.
Well, you also got to watch it like with full surround sound,
Yeah, it
So
was.
the experience that you had, most people aren't going to have that
Yeah.
unless they have like an incredible sound system to like hear it as it should be heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I learned some interesting things from one interview that dropped of Billie Eilish about the album. I'm excited to get to. But first, we have to cover Billie Eilish before all that. Who is this person? What is their music like? And that's what we are here to discuss. So to kind of set the scene here, Billie Eilish first started off with doing SoundCloud music. So if you guys don't know the platform SoundCloud, it's basically, think of a streaming service like a Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music, whatever you want to say, but people can upload for free. So basically think of YouTube, but for music, which is SoundCloud. And people can make money on there and stuff like that. So Billie Eilish started posting her music on there. Then one of her songs, Ocean Eyes, blew up like massively. And basically from that got signed to Interscope Records to a record deal, which leads us to our first release, which is her first EP, Don't Smile at Me.
Maybe it's in the gutter, where I left my lover.
What's your thoughts on this EP from Billie's first turnout, Beyond Ocean Eyes?
So I originally like went through her discography, and before Don't Smile at Me, it was just like single after single after single, and it's just kind of like a big clusterfuck of those singles and then a few other songs.
Yeah.
So I listened to the singles first and then went into it, so I kind of already knew most of the music when I listened to it. This honestly, it felt like a demo tape to me. Like, it wasn't, especially compared to what's to come after it, it just felt like very lackluster. The only 2 songs on it that I genuinely think are fantastic are Ocean Eyes and I Don't Want to Be You Anymore. Everything else kind of didn't really resonate with me or sake. Like I wouldn't go back and listen to them again. Um, yeah, but yeah, for sure. Ocean Eyes and I Don't Want to Be You Anymore. Like total hits, 100%. What
So
about you?
kind of hurts for you to say that because I really love this EP.
Okay.
It has a special place in my heart. Because when I first listened to Ocean Eyes, which was my first Billie Eilish song, like I have the thing where it tells me when I first listened to an artist, and it was Ocean Eyes back in 2017 when I first heard it. Um, After that track, I liked it for a little bit, but I moved away from it. You know, I was kind of distant from it, and then Billie Eilish blew up. And I wasn't listening to her then. Like I was not doing that. But then I got whiff of the song Bellyache. And that's when I became a massive fan of Billie Eilish from the song Bellyache. I just love the energy from this track. We hear this continuously throughout her music beyond here. We had the same tempo, like Bad Guy. Bellyache is the precursor to Bad Guy for sure, production wise, and even her vocal delivery. But what I think is so good about this album is like, yes, you can be like, it's a demo tape and stuff like that. But I feel like, I think that's like a little bit of disservice to it because you can say that with a lot of people that started on SoundCloud. Like Lil Nas X started on SoundCloud. So many artists did. And usually when they first release something, it's like, okay, you know, this is like consistently good songs, in my opinion. And production wise, it's just really remarkable and the start of what eventually would come from this. And like I think Billie has only had one miss in her discography, not song wise, but album wise, only one miss. And like for a while, this was my favorite project of hers. Not her first album, not Happier Than Ever. This was my favorite because of just all the songs on here, like Party Favor, where she goes into that kind of like squeaky voice of whatever they do on that. Love that. Super unique. We see that continue in her most recent album. So like, I don't think it's a demo tape. I think it's basically a precursor to everything that's going to come after, which I guess you can
Well,
say that's a demo if it's
so
that case.
what I mean by saying it sounds like a demo tape, um, basically what I'm saying is that it doesn't sound like she's found herself as an artist. Like the sound itself, she's singing in cursive for a lot of the songs. Like her pronunciations are kind of weird. Like it it's night and day. Like after this EP, she soars. I think this is like arguably the least impactful thing that she's put out of everything. I mean, and it's also her first. Also, keep in mind how young she is when she's releasing this too. So it's fantastic for what it is, but to me, it truly sounds like she doesn't really know her sound and her vocal style too. Like it's like a little bit all over the place for me. Um, but I'm curious. Do you know who produced this EP?
No, I'm not for sure. Do you know?
Uh, well, I know Phineas produces the next three albums. I don't know where he stands on this, but me, it doesn't sound like Phineas had a hand in producing this album. Like, and I don't know. I don't know. I'm actually gonna look it up right now because it really doesn't sound like he contributed to it at all. Um, what's it called again?
Don't smile at me.
Don't smile at me.
But like,
Um,
we've had many discussions about that type of vocal before. Like, you're not a fan of Lana Del Rey, and they're very much similar in that sense. Like, you're
I
not a
never said
fan
I'm
of
not
that.
a fan of. I never said I'm not
Dude,
a
yes,
fan
you
of.
have. Yes, you have. You said you don't like Lana Del Rey's vocals
I've never
before.
listened to her music. How can I not like it? I haven't said that.
Okay.
You're putting words in my mouth, Wiley. Oh my god.
I thought I heard you say that before.
No, definitely not. The producer is Phineas, so
Which
again,
I
it's their
disagree with that
first.
statement. I disagree with it. Doesn't sound Phineas. Like Bellyache is very a Phineas production. 100% is the layers on that track and what's happening within the production. That's definitely a Phineas track. Like you can tell. Like I hard disagree on that because it's like everything, like again, developing sound. And also one of your critiques saying is like she hasn't found her sound yet. But I don't think Billie has still have not found her sound because everything changes per album. You know, like When We Don't Fall Asleep kind of continues the Don't Smile at Me era. Happier Than Ever is drastically different than the first album. And then the new album, are you kidding me? There's so many influences on it that you can't really tell
Yeah.
what her sound is.
But when I say like she hasn't found her sound, I mean like vocally herself as an artist. Like it's just it doesn't sound authentic to me. And like what I'm saying, especially is the singing in cursive. Like it really it's so forced, you know, like when people sing like that, I understand that it's like a style thing sometimes. Some people like, but I think it just this album is just like as low as it can get for me in terms of like if I'm gonna rank her works, this is at the bottom for me for sure.
I
But
hard disagree with that.
but with that being said, I don't want to be you anymore and Ocean Eyes are phenomenal. Like like fantastic tracks. Um but to each their own. To each their own. You know, you enjoy it. A lot of people enjoy it. It's as simple as that.
Okay, moving on for her first debut album, we have When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go?
Like it like, say I like it like that, like it like that.
Which won multiple Grammys. She was the first ever, she was the youngest artist to win all 4 categories in the major at the Grammys. So that must be noted for this album. So what's your thoughts on this album?
I think this is her best album by far. By far. I listened to this album before this deep dive. This was like the first like real introduction I had to a full-fledged Billie Eilish project. Um I'll say album, EP, whatever. You know, this is the first time I listened to something of hers from start to finish. Back when it originally came out. And I was blown away then and I was blown away now. Like it kind of sounds like a Halloween album. Like it's really dark. There's a lot of sinister themes to it and like her vocal style and the way they layer things and the harmonies. It's very eerie and ominous, you know? So um that itself is really interesting because like nobody really looks at that as a genre, that style, you know? Because what would you consider this to be? I would think it's pop. It's pop music to me. Um, but there's all these different influences and sounds and the production quality. Like there's a song and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but like you can hear like forks and like silverware in a kitchen and there's so many little tiny details that Phineas adds to the album. Um it's incredible, like genuinely. The panning, the layers in terms of like the spatial placements of things. So, like if you're listening to it with headphones, or if you're in like in a surround sound environment, like a modern car, uh, it's so cool. It's such an experience. And there's all it's just so cohesive and as like a producer, referring back to Phineas, it's so admirable because you don't really see this much in popular music today where there's all these little like little tiny details, you know? It's sick. Well, I'm gonna take a peek at the album real quick on Spotify. Instantly, when I first listened to this way back when, um, the first song that stood out to me was "Bury Your Friend." It like instant bop. Like that was the to me that was a hit off the album. Um, and of course, "Bad Guy" too. But that was the hit off the album. Um, also, "Bury a Friend." And it's so interesting. Like you have "Listen Before I Go," and it's basically like a suicide note. Um, which, from an artistic standpoint, so interesting. It's so vulnerable. I don't know if that was something that she actually wrote and it's like a personal piece of hers and you know she actually had those feelings or if it was more of a you know
I watched
what's
a
the word
documentary.
say that again.
I watched a documentary and said like I remember her saying that like like most of these songs dive deep into her. Like these songs on these albums were consistent within a notebook what she was putting on Spotify at the time. So
Uh-huh.
like she was having like a hard time, and I think it was something that directly related to her in that sense. So
Wow. Yeah, that cuts deep for sure. Um, but also when the party's over, fantastic. Um, but Zanny too. Oh my gosh, Zanny goes hard. But there's the whole album to me is a masterpiece from start to finish. I also like how it starts off with the Invisalign.
yeah. We don't have
Yeah,
those.
this is
We don't really have intro tracks like that nowadays that like have like a funny ad lib. We used to for the longest time. It was like the norm. It was like the
mhm.
normal thing that would happen. So, um,
Yeah, it's cool.
I think this track's really good, like really good. Like again, like talk about a massive hit where when this was released, it was put on so many different soundtracks to things. It had massive sync placements, like on
Mhm.
massive shows like Vampire Diaries. Like, say what you will about the show, was massive at the time. Billy got placements on there. That is a big statement to say that your songs were on there. It's like,
She
uh,
got placements before this album too, right? Like wasn't one of the like her first singles on
maybe
Vampire Diaries?
Ocean maybe
Yeah,
Ocean Eyes.
I think. I'm not sure. I don't know. I remember it like learning about Billie, like I've watched documentaries on her in the past. And they talk about like how film played a huge part in like getting
Yeah,
her
it does
music
for
heard.
every artist. If you
Yeah.
guys don't think so watching, you need to change that mindset because film is one of the biggest avenues that people make money. Even artists that
Yeah.
are not big that you don't know, that's how they make a living is through sync placements. So like,
Especially teen dramas
yeah,
too.
yeah,
Like a young dedicated audience. That's where the
100.
money is.
Us growing up, it was things like One Tree Hill, the
Yeah.
OC,
Gavin
those,
DeGraw, Fall
yeah,
Out Boy. Yeah.
again, just like so many massive artists had a big presence. And like we kind of see this nowadays with shows like Outer Banks that kind of had that same feel, but it's not. It's overall now. It's not directly to that same genre of TV. It's everywhere where sync placement's massive. So, um, but this album has a lot of bangers on it. Like You Should See Me in a Crown is this nice rock ballad with electro type beats in it. You have All the Good Girls Go to Hell, which is just kind of a pop banging thing that was really unique and very different from You Should See Me in a Crown. Then Wish You Were Gay, and which is kind of amazing where we were talking about Billie finding herself and her music and stuff like that. To go from this track to all the way where we are now feels like that was like intentional, but I don't think it was intentional, but it works so well in that way.
No,
Um,
because what back then at least, maybe she was just saying this for like just to, like get people off her back, but she said when the song came out that the meaning of the song is that she wished the guy that she was dating was gay so the breakup wouldn't be like as hard. Like it would be
mhm,
easier to see him with a woman or with a man than with another woman.
mhm.
So that's
I'm not talking legit. I'm just saying like it's kind of a cool thing to
yeah,
notice.
like Lunch on the new
Yeah,
album. Yeah, she's like, I'll
yeah.
eat you for lunch." Like, okay,
So
all right, go
I
off.
think that's cool. Which is that's a nice soft pop ballad, that song. So I really like it. But the production was kind of booming in that too. When the Party Is Over, just a nice, simple, slow track. Like you have everything in here. Like I Love You. I love how simple that track is and how
Mhm.
beautiful it is with the vocals. I just
Yeah,
think
it's gorgeous.
I think it's really good. And I honestly think this is her second best project. It's just when I look at it, and I think this comes out of the personal taste because I don't think there's a bad track on this album by any means. It's just when I look at it, I can go to all those ones I mentioned and more, but other ones I'll be like, you know what? I'll skip. I'll skip. And I think other albums don't have any skips, and they're all bangers, and they're all top tier. So yeah, I just think it's a great record. Like she won a ton of Grammys for it. That's all you need to say. You don't really need to say anything else
Huh.
more than that. But like everything has had a shelf life that is basically non-expired because she's still getting placements with this album. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. And launched her into stardom, even though she was already there with The Party Is Over. This just kind of like solidified her statement. You know, it's like when you're putting down concrete, you put down the concrete, then you put your handprint to make it known that this is your spot. That's what she did with this album. She put her hand in the concrete and said, I am here to stay. And that's proved that. So moving on to 2021's Happier Than Ever.
Do you read my interviews or do?
I really, really don't like this album. I
didn't like it either.
I just feel.
I mean, I shouldn't say I didn't like it. It's my aside from the EP. This is like of the 3 albums. This is my least favorite.
This is my least favorite. Period. It's just the thing is usually when you have a second album and you're starting off, it's like, okay, you made your statement known. You're here. Okay, what are you gonna do next to change it up? And granted, she changed it up from the first album. She did do that within the production, her vocals, and everything within this album. It's just, I look at a total of 16 songs. It feels extremely bloated, and some of the songs fade in with each other, and you can't tell like what is what. You know, it feels all the same. It feels like a cohesive album that's together, but nothing's memorable, and that's what my issue is. Like I'm looking at all these tracks, could not tell you one that I love on here, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, not even Happier Than Ever. Like honestly.
Oh, that song's incredible.
Yeah.
What don't I'm so surprised you don't like Happier Than Ever. I think that might be her, like one of her, if not the best track that she has.
Why do you think that?
I mean, the song itself is so unique. It's such a banger.
What
And
is
then
it?
once you get to the
about it?
bridge, the entire song changes. It's the build up, the journey that the song goes on. It's a masterpiece.
Lyrically,
Genuinely.
what lyrically stands out for you?
Lyrically, I don't know the lyrics off the top of my head.
Because you throw
I'll
the
have-
phrase
I'll have to-
masterpiece out so much. I don't know what is qualified as a masterpiece to you. Because there's so many things that are,
flawless. Like there's nothing that needs to be changed. Like this is perfect, you know. As it is.
I don't think I could say that with anything. Not even things I love. I don't even think I could call it a masterpiece because I think there's something that always can be improved on.
I mean, that's subjective. That's like a personal thing, right? But like a masterpiece, we're getting a little philosophical here.
What matters
But,
when we're
yeah.
talking about music, though? It does, because
I mean, a masterpiece is it's a masterpiece. It's a piece of work. It's mastered. It's what's the word I'm looking for? It's fine-tuned. It's made by a master of a craft. You know what I mean? It's a masterpiece. There you go. But with that being said, like the numbers would agree here too. Like in terms of streaming, like if you get the streams on the album compared to her first album, oh my god, it's so off. I mean, Happier Than Ever is really high. It's one of her most streamed songs, but everything else so low. Like what I thought was really interesting was the Billy Bossa Nova song. Yeah, there's elements of bossa nova in it, but it's not really a bossa nova in my opinion. Like it doesn't really follow the sound of a bossa nova. Which I don't really know, but I looked it up because I was like, is this song like, can this song actually be classified as a bossa nova? And like people like were questioning its validity as a bossa nova, but Billy posted on her story like the inspiration for the song. And I can't remember what it was, but it was an older track. And there was like a screen cap of it. I could probably find it if I look it up. Or for those listening to this, you can just, look it up yourselves and get to it. But if we're gonna go through the tracks of the album that stand out, from the get-go, I would say My Future was probably the first song that like really hit. into oxytocin, that transition, and like oxytocin was like really like raw and like hard. It was pretty cool. Um, then after that, the next song that stood out to me was Halley's Comet, um, into Not My Responsibility. Then Your Power, Therefore I Am, and Happier Than Ever. How many songs is that? 4 or 5. So 7 songs out of 16. Um, yeah, just I don't know. I was a bit disappointed because like you told me like when we spoke prior to this, you were like, "Oh, I think Happier Than Ever is gonna be your favorite. Like I think it's music you'd really like." But it didn't really like what made you think that like that would be my favorite? Like what
Because
elements from it?
because you typically like these slow ballads that are more thought provoking and the production's more simple and um more artistic in that
Oh.
sense, which I think is why I think you would enjoy it,
Uh-huh.
supposed to something like a first
First time.
project. Yeah, like I don't think I felt like it would be too heavy for you, but again, I'm still learning your taste in music as we progress. So just from what I know about you so far, it seemed like you would like this album more. But
Okay. Okay. I could see that. Yeah, I'm varied though. Like, uh, yeah, I do like slower songs at times, but for the most part, I like upbeat, like R&B, funk, rock,
hmm,
soul, you know. Um, I like how like gritty and edgy the first album is. Uh, it's so like badass,
yeah.
you know. uh, yeah. Um, but this next album, dude.
Well,
Uh,
first we have to mention the Barbie song, which blew up,
oh,
won her an Oscar, um, and also won her a Grammy, and so many awards. Won her the best song made for a movie from the Guild of Music Supervisors. I want to mention that too because that needs to get its shout out for my sake. But then, yeah, moving on to this album. But before we get into that, I got to do a toast to Billy. I'm going to do an alcoholic shot for Billy here because I like to say this album is one of the best albums I ever heard. And cheers.
ooh, ooh. What was that?
Whiskey.
Oh yeah, chase it down.
Oh, my throat's burning. Oh, that was for you, Billy. That was for you.
I could eat that girl for lunch as she dances on my tongue. Tastes like she might be the
Okay. Before we even dive into it, as I
Uh-huh.
tear up here, um, the one thing I respect about Billy the
He's
most
crying.
here is that she's the one big pop artist that's constantly changing her sound and doing something new and not sticking with the same routine. Because when you look at Dua Lipa, I love her. I love that new album, but it's the same. You have Ariana Grande doing the same thing. You have
That I would disagree with.
Ariana Grande? No,
Yeah,
well, I guess
it's
Yes and
her
is a
sound's
dance track.
evolved, but there are moments where, like some of her albums kind of blend, like
Yeah.
the Dangerous Woman and the Sweetener album
Yeah.
kind of blend into each other.
But my main point is she's the one that's on the top changing the most compared to everyone else. Okay. Taylor Swift changes, but she stays in some place for a little bit and then changes again. We already discussed this through the deep dive, like where she changed different eras or whatever. So, what I love, that's what I respect about her the most, because you can go into album not expecting anything because you don't know what the hell you're getting. And like this album all the way through, basically has nothing that really sounds the same. It's all drastically different. And talk about producing. Phineas has done the best he's ever done with producing this album.
Yeah, I
The
would agree.
influences and every little aspect to this freaking album is incredible. To the electric type beat at the end of freaking L'Amour de Vie. Like, honestly, just incredible. Then doing my favorite track, Birds of a Feather, to do a track that sounds like Clairo, one of my favorite artists, to do it at the masterful class as it is, better than any Clairo song. And that's coming from a Clairo fan. Like, doing everything at top tier level to have a song that is not 16 songs, 10 songs that are all perfectly packaged, have something to bring to the table, all are unique and they're all different, to Billie actually saying something with her album and the lyrics she's saying, because there is a common theme throughout lyrically. Like, it is immaculate. Like, I have listened to this album so many times to a point where it's on repeat nonstop. I'm going to give you the statistics to what I have right now for the Billie Eilish, just so you know. So I have listened to this album. You want to guess how many hours I've listened to this album?
Came out Friday.
Yeah.
So Saturday. So it came out yesterday. How long is it? 43 minutes. Say like 6 hours.
Are you sitting down?
I think so.
18 hours I've listened to this album.
Did you sleep listening to it on repeat?
18 hours, and I've started there, and on my top 250 tracks of the 6 month, 10 of them are on there, so that's all the tracks.
Dude, if you count in the time you need to sleep, like that's like almost every waking hour.
It's on constantly and has not stopped for me. I have never, ever done this with an album before. So I can continue, and I will continue, but I'm going to let you speak on it.
I really like, I wish I could give like a critique, but I can't critique it. Like, to me, this is a true artistic piece. The production's incredible. Like you said, I do think this is Phineas's best work. I listened to this album 3 times, believe it or not. And mainly because I was listening to it the first 2 times, like doing stuff like driving my dog to the vet or picking up groceries, whatever, or taking a shower, and or doing homework. You know, like I just was kind of passively listening to it and like zoning out, I guess, on something else. But what I did was I noticed that my car had the best sound of everywhere I was listening to it, or it to. Wait, no, to it. Anyways, and I got like the full surround sound of it, and it was such an experience. I didn't like make notes per song like I did on the other albums and releases. But this piece, like you said that it was like every song's different. To me, it kind of like was cohesive. Like there's a lot of like different sounds and whatnot, but there was like a theme that like reigned throughout the
Are
album.
you
I
only
think.
saying that because of the transitions of the track, how they bleed into each other? Because there is multiple songs
Yes.
that bleed in with each other.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no, I guess. Like you, how you said in like Happier Than Ever, it kind of felt like the entire thing was just like one song because it was just, you didn't know what was what. I had that same experience with this album. Like I said, I was listening to it passively the first 2 times, but like I was listening to a song and I'd be like, wait, and then I'd go and like I'm already 4 songs down the album. Like, oh shit, like what the fuck?
I have
Yeah.
perfect. So I was doing with the same thing. So in the theater when I was listening to it, there was no title indicator. So things kind of flowed with each other. So it was hard to know when something ended and started. So like that got me a little bit worried when I came out of the theater for the first time listening to it. So when it came out that night, I listened to it again. I'm like, okay, I know where they end now, but like, will this album work putting on shuffle, or do you have to listen to it from start to beginning, which got me worried. So I spent multiple hours of those 18 listening to it on shuffle with it not being cohesive and going down the line and just kind of letting it go around. Works just as great. Just as great. So like my only complaint about it was that might be an issue, but it wasn't an issue at all.
Out of curiosity, like I'm just like reading reviews on the album,
Uh-huh.
and it seems like a lot of people aren't vibing with the album as much as the others.
Oh, I've heard a completely different standpoint from that.
I mean, there's always gonna be varied opinions, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I haven't heard one
but
negative thing about it yet. Just from my circle and what I listen to and when I watch, I
yeah,
haven't
and
heard
then
one negative thing about it.
you got then there's like also like I'm seeing things like BBC, Billie Eilish reviews for Brilliant hit me hard and soft. That was 14 hours ago. Um, yeah, Billie Eilish is more playful and more pissed on Hit Me Hard and Soft. Rolling Stone. Um, let's see. Let's go through these real quick. Billie Eilish's "Hit Me Hard and Soft" is zealous outsider pop in a league of her own. Um, Billie Eilish keeps up her winning streak with the surprising and intimate "Hit Me Hard and Soft" album review. Um, yeah,
The
you know, so
thing,
there is good press as well.
yeah,
If you go on like Reddit, a lot of people like a lot of people are saying like, "Oh, I already know it's a phenomenal. I haven't listened to it yet." And then you have people are saying like, this album doesn't make sense. Like it's all so different." Which you mentioned, you know.
yeah,
Um,
it's all very different.
and
Like,
then like a lot of people are saying like I'm just this is War Eagle 9 on Reddit. Hello War Eagle 9. I just don't think this type of music is for me because I'm mostly bored. I like Lunch, The Diner, L'amour de ma vie,
makes complete
and Birds of a
sense.
Feather, but I was pretty bored with the rest of it. I
Makes
see everyone
sense.
else gagging, so maybe I just don't have taste.
No, it makes sense though. Look at those. Look at those. Look at those tracks by himself. They're all upbeat with electric production on them and just really booming and bombastic. The Diner is very different productionally. Birds of a Feather is just a nice, incredible pop track. My favorite track of the album. Like it's already on TikTok blowing up that track. Then you have the La Demour or whatever that track is, one of my favorites as well. But that also starts very like cohesive with the Billie Eilish catalog and then turns into a break and gives you a electro
Mhm.
pop, super pop. So it makes sense why that stands out to that person.
So I like this take right here. So this is from Guilty Industry 1303 on Reddit.
Yeah.
We're on the Pop Heads Reddit, by the way, guys. So they say the production on this is insane. It's like Cowboy Carter, where I'm going to need a few listens to truly hear all the little details. I need time to really digest this album, but all I know is that it's phenomenal. Even though there are a few songs I don't vibe with personally because I hate heavy synth, but it's objectively phenomenal. It feels so different and new, but there is a sense of nostalgia to it, which is insane. Birds of a Feather is beautiful. I don't even know what genre this is. Skinny has strings, Lunch is something of its own, and then there are rock elements, acoustic pieces, synth, auto-tune, violin. I'm loving this regardless. Here are the drawbacks. I don't like the auto-tune on her voice. It's too beautiful for the auto-tune. That's a stylistic thing. There was that one song that had the auto-tune, which I
Barely
thought
any
was
auto-tune.
really interesting.
And it was the part of the electro pop thing. So what is that genre known for? That type of
Yeah,
sound.
that's the stylistic thing. It's like an instrument, you know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't look at that as a drawback personally. I'm not a fan of heavy synths, regardless of who does it, and some of the songs lean heavily into that. It's a personal thing. Some songs take too long to warm up. The Dinner takes about a minute to understand what she's trying to do with it. The back quarter of the album is a bit dark. I don't like Bittersweet and The Diner right after each other. The Dinner and The Diner. It's The Diner, right?
Yeah, the Diner.
Yeah. They wrote Dinner and then Diner. I'm just being picky at this point. Standout. Birds of a Feather. Lunch is also a standout. Now I'm going to be playing this over and over too long. Two, along with Cowboy Carter, Eternal Sunshine, and Radical Optimism.
Hey, two of my favorites of the year.
Yeah, I'm about to say this. Are you Guilty Industry 1303 on Reddit?
No, but here's my thing, right? Everyone has music is so subjective, you know, and we've
Yeah.
had this discussion and many arguments about like you sometimes don't think it's subjective.
Discussions. Let's call them
Yeah,
discussions.
discussions where you think something is objectively great, and I disagree with that because I think there's so many things to it. Even the person that you just read's review is like, Cowboy Carter's this, but I like this, but Cowboy Carter keeps on mentioning Cowboy Carter, so you know their biases with that album. They love that album. That's their favorite. Okay, that's what it looks like. With Billy's,
Well,
no, let me finish. Let me finish my statement. I'm on a roll here.
what's the bias?
The
Like, what do
bias
you
is
mean
they
by
love Cowboy Carter and nothing's going to top that. Do you know how many people, when it comes to reviews, music, or anything entertainment wise, they'll have their biases and then they'll compare it with that. And if it doesn't top that, then they'll always put it that. That's how it works, Benny. There's no
not
argument with that.
that's also subjective, just like how music is subjective. Well, people don't do that. Like
Dude,
I
so many
personally
people do that. I've reviewed movies since I was
do
12
you
years
do you
old.
do you do that?
Yes.
Like
When I have
so
a favorite
okay,
thing,
so
when I have a favorite thing, I compare it with another thing to see if it overtops it or is below it. I do it all the time. That's why I
so
have a
like
top 10 favorite movies of the year list. How do you think I
personally
do that?
personally that's not something I do. Like
hmm
for example, like I try to look at things like as its own entity.
Uh-huh.
Like I can't like I think Cowboy Carter is an absolute masterpiece from start to
See, I
finish.
disagree.
It's an incredible album. Incredible. I like and I can't believe you disagree with that. Like even like you might not like it yourself, but like you can like for example, like this album, right? I don't I this isn't something that I'm gonna come back to and listen to over and over again.
Not 18
You
hours
are.
worth.
Like you are, you're loving it. But I can acknowledge that this album is fantastic. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Just because I personally don't like it. And like the same thing goes for Cowboy Carter. I'm not a diehard Beyonce fan, right?
You
But
did go
like
to a concert, a Beyonce, though.
I did go to a Beyonce concert.
So
That
there
is
is
true. But
some of that there.
yeah, exactly. I'd see Billie Eilish live if I was given the opportunity to.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like I would see any pop star live if I was given the
I see.
opportunity.
I look at
You
it
know?
objectively too. Like I personally don't love Cowboy Carter, but there's a couple tracks I like. But honestly, if I told someone what my favorite tracks are on that album, they'd be like, "Those are the weakest," or something like that. They would tell me instantly like that. You know, like I can respect the production and especially things on like a simple cover like Blackbird and the amazing production that's on that track to make it sound unique. I can recognize
Yeah.
that. You know, but the thing is, when it comes down to it, what do I have the most to say about? I could go on and on about the new Billie Eilish on so many different levels and dissect it. If you're like, Wiley, preach to me why this is good on this level, I could do it because there's so much there, so many uniqueness. And on that point, I heard an interview with Billy saying that Phineas has been dabbling in film score, which has become a big part. And and Phineas loves string, and so does Billy. They wanted to come into this album to imply string within their music production. And they even got and worked in the studio with film scores in different locations to help make it sound as authentic as it could be with many
Mhm.
different composers and instrumentalists that go in there to do that. There's so many levels and detail within it, and you can feel that in the production. The thing is, that why I love this album so much is yes, I can definitely like I didn't give this a perfect score. Like I said, I have a hard time calling anything a masterpiece. I gave it a 95 on the thing I review it on because there is little drawbacks on it, but very small in my opinion. Like the thing is, I love the Dua Lipa album, but on second listens, it's not that great, and it sucks to say that. Even though I love the album, it's not as polished as I thought it was when I first listened to it.
Oh yeah, and you were excited about it.
Yeah, and I still love it. Look, it's right there. Like I have the alternate. I still love it. One of my second favorite album of the year. But there is some flaws in it. And the thing with Billy is, as I listen to it, I'm a little bit worried that I was going to get over it. But I'm 18 hours in, and I could still go another 18 hours of listening to this album because of Phineas's production alone. Just standing at that, there's so many levels and detail and
Mhm.
nuance. You know, I was trying to just describe it to someone saying that like Phineas has an old soul when it comes to instrumentation and has these things of so many influences within his work. And then you have Billie Eilish's vocals of like a Bond girl back when the old Bong songs were coming out and putting those together. It's like peanut butter and jelly. It works
Yeah.
so well and it's
What
amazing.
what I think Billie Eilish, like her vocal style, especially from her first album on, which you don't really get this in the first album. You do a little bit, but like it's very polished when we get to the first album. Um, is her blend of like singing in a head voice with vibrato and vocal fry all at once.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting and it's kind of haunting in a sense, but she does it so well. It's like really like it's like she's crooning, but it's like
Mm-hmm.
raw and kind of rugged at the same time. It's really cool.
Her vocals, she does it with ease when you watch her perform. Very with ease, you know? In
Mhm.
this album, she belts, and that's part of some of the best moments of the
Yeah.
album. Like, they're
Yeah, I agree.
incredible. Like, it's just, there's so much levels to this, down to the transitions of tracks, down to individuality of these songs, or listening to them beyond the album's frame, you know? Like, and then her vocals are doing so many different things in it. Like, I don't care what anyone says if you like it or album. When you look at these songs, there are so many different vocal attempts where the first two tracks give a shoegaze vibe, down to Birds of a Feather. That's a indie pop sound, indie bedroom pop. Do you ever think you would ever hear freaking Billie Eilish do that? No, you wouldn't. Like, and not only is she doing it, she's knocking out of the park and being on the top of that genre, which she's not known for. That is incredible. Like, that's insane how you can do that, because we see so many artists try something different, like artists going from their genre to country, you know, and it just sounds country. It sounds like a normal country album, but it's not the top of its game. Like, I'm not saying this because of Beyonce. I'm not comparing to Beyonce. I'm just saying in general. It's just, it's incredible what this album does, and it's just, like, again, every listen I go back to it, I can pick out something new within the production or vocally or lyrically, and it just blows my mind in how beautiful it is. It feels like, you know, when you get something from like your like grandmother that they put time in, or someone gives you, like, that's an arts and crafts gift, you know, where like,
Mhm.
and when you give it and it's in your hand, you think of the time, you picture what they're doing when they were making that. That's what this production feels like. It feels like Phineas was just meddling and messing with it, you know, taking a break, getting a drink of a Sprite, and then coming back or something and messing with it.
Right.
You know, it just feels like there's so much love and care put into it. It's just incredible. And again, I'm not trying to force the agenda saying, oh, this is my favorite album, so therefore it needs to be your favorite album. Usually when something is massively popular and I like it too, I don't really like that feeling. I like loving something, and usually it's not loved by a lot of people. You can call that gatekeeping all you want. It probably is, but like, I love it when I love something and it's not super popular, because like, I just like the Lana Del Rey album last year. That was an incredible album that no one brought attention to
You're
it.
different. I'm just different.
But like, but for example, like Cowboy Carter's, like, people, regardless of what you think and what the conversation is, people are now saying, oh, what's going to win the most Grammys, this album or Cowboy Carter? You know, like, I don't know. I think they're different enough where they can win in their own categories and people would look at it fairly.
I don't know, like, I don't think like that's even like a conversation right now, because
It is. I've seen
we're-
the conversations, Benny.
I'm sure conversations are being had. I'm like, you know what I mean?
You're
But
saying
like,
as a mass.
there's so many more albums yet to come out this year that are going to be considered. I don't even know if this will be given a nomination for album of the year. I think it could definitely win. Like,
what else is in contention in your mind? Like, I love Ariana Grande and Dua Lipa. Those are not getting nominated.
It's more than just like pop icons that get nominated for the album of the year. You know,
And
it's
I've been listening to everything. I don't like. Well, can you name one that would be in consideration beyond the Cowboy Carter?
Maybe Jacob Collier. Have you listened to his music?
Yeah, it wasn't good.
That's crazy to me.
I like him. A lot of people hate him.
He's a mastermind.
Yes, he is, but a lot of people hate him too.
So, yeah, and a lot of people hate everything. Like, there's gonna be people that love and hate different things. For the most part, he's a very well respected musician. He's like
John
a musician.
Baptiste is what you're saying, like a John Baptiste.
Yeah, like a John, like exactly. That I would consider him and Jacob Collier to be in the same realm. But again, like, there's gonna be contenders that can make it onto the ballot that are pop icons. If we're talking about like the Grammy Awards, right? So this can get like like
Production.
I forget the award where it's like production, like record of the year.
Yeah.
I think this could win record of the year. That I think it's a single though.
Yeah,
Like
but
the
what would be that
production
single
value of
though?
it. The production value of this album is really where it's a strong contender, in my opinion. Um,
Oh yeah.
not
What am I
so,
saying? Taylor Swift's gonna get nominated just because of name.
yeah, Taylor Swift definitely in the running. I think like as of right now, I think like deserving, and I think it's possible that it will win based off what happened with Jay-Z at the last Grammys is Cowboy Carter. But that album itself is like the not even the music, it's incredible. It's so diverse. There's so many different genres on it.
When it comes
The
to music,
lyrics,
though, conversation's really important. And I haven't heard a lick about Cowboy Carter since its initial release.
I think that's just like more of a testament to like what you surround yourself with, because you're more focused on like Billie Eilish and Olivia Rodrigo and Dua Lipa and like that kind of like the more pop oriented side of the music industry, whereas like Beyonce's more on the R&B side. I know like this album touches the roots of black music, country, blues, soul, R&B, rock. Like it's like Cowboy Carter, I mean,
But
uh
we're
but I
we're going
think
off track
like
here.
it's still a massive conversation, Cowboy Carter.
Mhm.
Like it's people are it's an album, it's people are raving about it. It's still very much like a front runner for
But
sure.
I want to know your flaws with this Billie Eilish album. Like I want to know, and like don't say there is no flaws because there is, because you wouldn't be saying this if there was no flaws in your eyes. So like,
Well, there
what is the
aren't
issues
flaws.
with
I
it?
just think like in terms of like this is very much music is subjective, right?
Yeah, I'm asking you. I'm not asking for a
I'm
general
not
consensus.
saying there are flaws. I'm just saying objectively, it's
Yeah,
not
but
it has
what
nothing
are
to
you?
do.
There's something you have an issue with something on it. There's something that doesn't stick with you.
No, I don't. There's no issue with anything.
Benny, you said it shouldn't be nominated for a Grammy because
I didn't say it shouldn't be nominated for a Grammy. I'm saying like I think it's a strong contender due to its
Okay,
production value.
let me
That's where
rephrase
the
the
strength in
question.
this album lies.
Let me rephrase the question.
Is what I'm
What is
saying.
better about her first album compared to this album? What is the difference in your eyes? Like what is better about the first album compared to this?
Um, I can't answer that because that's better.
I'm
Like
trying to have a
better.
conversation, Benny. I'm trying to have a conversation about the album.
Yeah, I understand, but what you're trying to squeeze like lemon juice out of an orange. You know what I mean? Like I don't understand. Like you're not liking my answer, and you're trying to like get
What
something
you
out of
haven't
me
really
that I
stated what
can't
you
give you.
love about it. You haven't stated what you love about it and what you dislike about it. You haven't stated
I,
anything actually.
yeah, I have.
Like
We had a
what?
whole
Like what?
conversation about the
Like
album.
what?
The production value
Okay,
again.
what
Like I
specifically
think
about the
I think.
production stands out to you?
How about you answer that
I
question?
have answered that so many
No,
times, Benny. Yes, I have.
what have you said? Tell me.
I have said when you look at like La Dove or whatever how you say it, or the Diner, the electro pop production on there, the boom bops on that are so unique to go from a simple ballad with just piano with this a simple tone from the transition within that single track. Birds of the Feathers, the production on that is just a simple tweakling, like light type of production there. It's really unique, and I love that. You got Lunch, which is a 90s hip hop type of beat on there, like Beastie Boys type of style there. It's very, and even in the music video that just got released for it, is a very apparent that that's what they were trying to go for. Churro or Chodoro, or whatever, however you say it. Basically,
G-Hero,
yeah, it's a
Churro,
character from Spirited Away.
Churro,
But like
Churro.
that has the distinct Billie Eilish sound that we know and love. That track it does. So you have, of course, you have the simple pianos and things like that. And Wildflower is just a piano ballad. Like The Greatest is just such a more carried by vocals in the production and make it really the forefront of that track. So like those are multiple examples of what's great about the production.
Okay. Like a bit vague. Like I could, you know what I mean? Like it's like
How would you state
I,
it then? How would you state it? How is that vague?
so I can't give you like I'm gonna reiterate things that I've said already because that's I'm just gonna reiterate my opinion, um, or I won't fully. But getting to this album, like I've listened to it 3 times. The production in this is so deep. There's so many little things that you will miss, that you have missed, even if you've listened to it as many times as you have. Like you need to be sitting down, focusing on nothing else but this album, listening to it multiple times to get the full value of it. So I can't sit here and fully critique
Name one
and you
thing
know
from
what I
the
mean?
production
Like
that stands out. One
say
thing.
that again?
Give me one thing from the production that you like. A specific.
Hmm. I mean, specific. If we're
Specific.
like so br- I can't say like specific, I guess, right? But broadly speaking, um, just how like spatial oriented this album is. I can't pinpoint which song it is, but I genuinely can't remember. But there's this one song specifically where the panning goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and it's like you can hear it moving, like literally like moving like this. And I don't remember which fucking song it was. It's fleeting my mind. But I was listening to that song specifically. I was like, what the fuck? Like I'm tripping right now. Like I feel like I'm on an acid trip. Not that I've done acid before, but like like it's straight up like it was incredible, like just the spatial placements of the song, sonically speaking, it's incredible just how much little details Phineas puts throughout the entire album. It's like, and yes, this is something that could be said for the last 2 albums too, but this specifically is transcends all of it. The production on this album is incredible. Like I can't stress further, like it's and that's what I'm saying, like the lyrics, like none of the lyrics really stood out to me in this. Like there was nothing like super impactful that connected with me listening to it 3 times. um like it was definitely like their pop lyrics. If I'm gonna say what I think is going to be like the biggest song off the album, it's probably going to be Lunch. But I think like Lunch right now is most marketable. There's a lot of like queer LGBTQ plus themes in the album that like I think a lot, like she's like, intersecting herself into that area or that realm of the music industry. Let's call it gay pop, for example. And she's like giving a voice to like people that don't necessarily have that voice all the time. And I think a lot of her fans are going to resonate with that too. Um, but for me, like aside from me thinking Lunch is going to be like the most commercially viable song on this album, I think Birds of a Feather was like that. The song itself stood out to me the most. Like that was probably listening to it 3 times. Like this is like I'd stop and be like, oh, okay, like so that stood out to me the most. Um, I liked Blue. I liked the way Blue ended. And what I thought was really cool about Blue is that she sampled one of her unreleased songs that was on SoundCloud from like way back when, and she used that melody. Um,
We
so
get
I thought
vocals
that
from
was pretty,
Phineas on that track too.
yeah. And then I don't remember which song it was, too, but like there's like, and this is straying away from the production. I mean, like the production adds to it, but she's like screaming, like in some parts she's like crying for help, and like it like echoes, and the way it's placed,
It might
like
be Wildflower.
I think it might be, I don't remember. But it's, yeah, like that itself. But for me, like I didn't connect with the lyrics. I didn't connect with and again, I haven't listened to it enough to fully connect with it, right?
Do you
But
when you
I
listen to
like for
something, when you listen to something, does
uh
lyrics play a massive part when you listen to something that when you love it personally?
to me it depends. It's never the same,
Okay.
right? There are songs that I love for the lyrics.
Hmm.
Like for example, there's a song called On the Bright Side by Never Shout Never. I love that song for the lyrics,
Hmm.
the message, right?
Yeah.
Then there are songs like, I don't know. Let me think of something. Like I don't know why I'm stalling. Uh but like a song that I like for the musicality, um, maybe
Any Lawrence song.
okay, let's say Lawrence, like maybe like the Don't Lose Sight
Yeah.
acoustic. That's crazy. Like the vocals, everything. Like that, like from like a musician's standpoint, incredible.
Yeah.
Um and then like we could refer to Cowboy Carter, for example. You know, where it's the music and the lyrics. And I'm not just talking about like a particular song. We could talk about Blackbird, for example, which is a cover, but the meaning behind Blackbird, the lyricism so strong,
Yeah.
like the musicality, the chord progressions.
She
It's
changed the
it's
meaning of the song with that too. She added another way. It's like putting a song in a movie. You change the meaning of the song by doing that, you know? Like her interpretation added another value to the song that wasn't there initially.
yeah, I think like having a black woman sing the song
Yeah.
with the song's original meaning is much more impactful than
Exactly.
having
That's what
some,
I'm saying. Adding
yeah,
something
yeah,
to it, you know?
yeah, for sure. Um But like just just to like broadly speak, like so it's never the same.
But that's my
I
point.
think
I think
yeah,
anything entertainment wise is subjective when it comes down to
exactly.
when it comes down, it's always down to personal preference. Of course, you can look at something and be like, oh, that is like really good at what it's doing. Production wise, that is non-negotiable. It's doing things that I've never heard before. And I can objectively say that's good production, you know? So there are,
Mhm.
it's same with movies, you know, like that's good cinematography, that's good acting. But when it comes down to it, how you feel about the movie, it's how you feel about the movie.
I saw Forrest Gump for the first time this weekend. Just saying.
Lieutenant Dan, you a fan, man? But like,
uh
everything comes down to personal preference, you know? That's why when it comes to award shows, it's say what you will about it. Like, yes, it's honoring something that is good, but when it comes down to it, it's all people are putting on the ballots usually for personal preference of what they think about it. There are some people that come in with suits and be like, you know, as a cinematographer myself, I think this is objectively the best cinematography, you know. There are a handful. It's 50-50 of people that come in with opinionated and one that comes in objectively. You know, is how it is. So with music and things like that, I think out of everything entertainment wise, music is the most difficult that comes down to it, because if anything relies on emotion the most, it's music. And I always will stand by that. I'll always stand by that point. And I can understand why people love Cowboy Carter so much. I completely understand it. There's so many levels within those tracks that I still haven't heard from that. And so many artistic, like a risk that Beyonce was taking by doing a different genre, not once, but twice in a row, and knocking out of the park in both of those realms. You can only respect that. But when I look at Billie Eilish's stuff, it's definitely more in my taste. But at the same time, I think it's just as powerful as Beyonce's Cowboy Carter for production reasons and vocally what Billie Eilish is doing on so many different levels. So I feel like you can do both, but when it comes down to it, it's all about personal preference.
exactly. Exactly.
And that's why we're here to have the conversation on the Fresh Record. And this has been the deep dive of Billie Eilish, one of my favorite artists. Like, I will continue listening to this. It's just incredible, incredible album. What is your thoughts? What is your ranking of your favorite Billie Eilish albums, and what order would you put them in? What is
Ooh.
your favorite track from Billie's discography? What did you think about the production? All those
Oh,
questions,
that's
please.
that's really hard.
Yeah.
That's so hard. Oh, you're asking the
Asking the
people listening,
freshies. Yeah, asking the
not me.
freshies. But you
Thank
can
God.
you can
I'm not answering that.
Yeah, she has too many good songs. But honestly, if I had to say my favorite Billie Eilish song at the moment, it's probably "What Was I Made For," because like it's incredible how much I listen to that song, right? And yes, it has a distinct meaning about women being seen and stuff like that. So that's very powerful for that. But as listening to it forever and ever, and has so many things in my life have changed, I related to it in so many different ways, just in my personal life. So like for a song to me love it when I wasn't relating into it, and then creating something that relates to me with listening to the song, masterful, masterful. And I'll die on that hill. I love that song. One of the best sync placements ever in film. So yeah, but that would be my answer. Benny, where can they find you so they can yell at you for your Billie Eilish opinion? It must be stated, Benny. What
I'm
is your social media?
It must be stated that I'm a huge Billie Eilish fan. I'm actually a bigger fan of Phineas. Love his music, and his work in general, you know. But you can find me at Bennycumella on every social media platform. Yeah, it's Instagram, TikTok, yeah,
LinkedIn.
anything else really, but just focus on those two.
LinkedIn, everything. And you can
LinkedIn, yeah, add me on
follow
LinkedIn.
me, Wiley K. Todd, and check me up on TikTok. I'm about to post a video that relates to Billie Eilish, where I took one of the songs from the album, replaced it in a current scene, and put music over it from Billie Eilish, and it works beautifully. So please check that out. And also, the video I've talked about forever about me ranking the greatest soundtracks of all time is coming soon. Hopefully, knocking on wood. I've been needing to get that done. But yeah, I don't know when our next one of these will be. I don't know what albums are coming out that we're looking out for, but you know, if you have not seen the Taylor Swift video, we had a great guest on there, Caitlin, one of the Freshie members, that's part of the crew, and a great episode. You can see the pure joy in Benny's face during this whole interview because they're friends and stuff like that. It was great. So if you want to smile on your face,
saw her. Yeah, it was the first time we spoke like live in maybe 2 years.
It's just a nice, joyful, peaceful moment talking about Taylor Swift. So check that out. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram at the Fresh Record Pod to get all your Freshie news and everything coming out. So we'll see you guys next week on Monday for another episode of the Fresh Record. Goodbye.